Hi, everybody. I'm Corrine, Stephen Pope's PR officer. I'm both excited and a bit starstruck to be stepping into the interviewer's chair today. Anyway, it's not every day you get to chat with a CEO, and it's definitely a challenge I'm thrilled to take on. So get ready for some incredible insights from the genius behind my Amazon guy, Stephen Pope.
My Amazon guy.
My Amazon guy.
My Amazon guy.
My Amazon Guy, the best Amazon agency in the world.
Stephen Pope, the founder and CEO of My Amazon Guy.
Welcome, Stephen. How are you? What's the best thing that's happened to you today?
Well, I had a person send me a cold DM on LinkedIn yesterday and said, "Hey, want me to come over and measure you for some clothes?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I've lost some weight because I've been doing jujitsu and
Mhm.
Muay Thai boxing." And I was like, "Can you tailor my pants?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'll come over and tailor your pants." And so, the world we live in today is just peculiar. It's really fun to see like LinkedIn and marketing and all that evolve. So, but yeah, that's the mood I'm in. I'm in the inquisitive, waiting for something exciting to happen mood, I guess.
The generation today is really updated. It's a tailor kind of business, right?
Yeah.
Sent you a
Yeah, like
cold
a
DM.
professional image consultant that probably looking over on LinkedIn for people that are, affluent but don't have time to go drive down to the shop. So I fit the bill.
Right. We all know that you've built a really successful business in a highly competitive space. So, what's one unconventional strategy or approach you've used that others might not expect?
There's two things that really set apart what I chose to do as I built the agency. The first is I never really want physical conferences. And I think a lot of agencies and SaaS providers and technologies feel like they have to go to conferences and press the flesh, do a lot of physical activity. And I think this is because the agency space, especially in the Amazon agency space, is filled with extroverts. And I'm a super hardcore introvert. I love being home, which
Mhm.
is why I love that LinkedIn tailor coming out to my house, which was, just, it was a like I bought just because I was fascinated with the marketing element
Yes.
of it. And I'm also super lazy and I want to stay home. Don't want to go out and shop, which is why I built the business digitally, which is why I built the business out of my house. And initially, when I first started the agency, I had upwards of 10, 11 people in my house, which was crazy. Thought that's what you had to do. You bought computers, you
Mhm.
put some desks up, and you throw some people in a building. In my case, it was at first my guest room, a couple of employees, and then I was like, I can't fit a third person in here. Let's go down to the basement. We finished the basement and built out an office environment, and it worked out pretty good. So the first thing is just I really embraced that digital element and understanding that you don't have to go out and do some physical activity to build, a digital business. I think that was a really crucial point. The second is I really
Mhm.
embraced education, understanding that not everybody that I teach is going to buy from me, but if I could just get 1% of people who listen to me, and I've had 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, 2 million views, impressions 50 million range, just people seeing a thumbnail on occasion.
Mhm.
That stuff adds up. That's really branding, and the longer you stick to something, the easier it gets. So, today I woke up, I had an empty calendar, and of course I pay you to go book me in podcasts, and we didn't have a hit for today, so I'm like, why don't you interview me, right? Like that's the sort of element that as a company owner I've been able to build. I went out and took a 3-mile hike in my forest. I swam in my pool. These are things that a business owner gets to take advantage of. On the flip side, it can sometimes be difficult to find motivation because I've already hit the I win button in life and I
Yes.
have to root myself into my why statement. I am trying to level up life, not just my life, but the whole world's life. And I want to bring prosperity to the whole world. So, since I already have prosperity, now it's my job to bring it to others. And one of my favorite ways to do that is to create jobs. And, my Amazon guy, we've got 550 employees. We've been able to help thousands of Amazon brands tackle and take a punch from Jeff Bezos on occasion and deal with terrible seller support and all of the challenges that a lot of people are frustrated by when they sell on the Amazon platform. So hopefully that gives you a little flavor of that and how I tailor all of that into my why.
Yeah, great. You really provided a lot of ideas, especially to our viewers knowing that you wanted to level up the life, not just for your family, but to your entire people who's currently working in my Amazon guy, that's a big hit. So given it's your success, it's a big success, you're touching other people's life because of your innovative strategies. It clearly sets a high standard, especially in the AMZ ecosystem. So now, how do you feel about others attempting to replicate your methods of strategies, and what do you think is the difference in your approach and keeps you ahead of the competition?
If competitors mimic or copy us, and by the way, half the people watching this right now are going to be at competing agencies. They're like, what does Steven doing that makes him tick that I can replicate? And to those people listening right now, good for you, right? Like, good for you that you respect me enough to try and replicate my process. And you should. You really should, because it's working for me and I think it'll work for others. And I say a lot of things that are anti-grain. They're against the grain in our ecosystem at large. I did a counter narrative. One thing that's a little bit unique is I kind of ignore my own competitors, right? So I read a business book called Blue Ocean, and the whole point is that if you just simply ask customers, what do you want, and give it to them, that is a framework that is infinitely scalable. And of course, I follow it up with, did you get what you wanted? And I think a lot of people miss that follow up step, quite
Mhm.
frankly. But, we sell a lot of our trade secrets. We give a lot of our trade secrets away for free. Why would I do that? First of all, it's made me really wealthy, right? Like, giving information out brings and attracts people who will pay you money. So there's obviously a selfish interest there, but towards the larger cause, I feel that if I level up the entire ecosystem, that not only will it make me personally wealthy, but it'll bring wealth to all of us. And I've taken some brand positions like it's all of us against Amazon. I wish I could create a stronger brand statement than that. But I think that a lot of people assume that agency land is zero sum game, and it's really not. 40% of the customers that we work with
Mhm.
have never worked with an agency before. So some people assume, oh, I got to go take Steven's clients. Oh, I got to go poach Steven's employees, or I got to replicate the MAG process literally. And you really don't, right? Like, you could learn from what we're teaching and then just go hunt and find people who haven't had that connection with an agency before. There's so many of them. There's 50,000 new Amazon sellers that pop up every single month. There is so much growth in our sector. There is room for all of us. There is not enough of us, even to today. We haven't seen a lot of agency roll ups in our space like we did in Google. Like, there's 10,000 employee strong agencies in the Google and the Facebook. In Amazon, at 550, we're the largest,
Yeah.
right? And that's tiny in comparison to other sectors. So there's just a lot of things that I think are going to come out, and we'll see how this develops. But I'm building to hold. I'm not an M&A guy. I researched it just to learn, but like, I can't see myself buying another Amazon agency. I might buy a Google or a Facebook or a TikTok agency. I don't know how to do that either, but I might, and see if I can go upstream and go up to mid market and try and figure out how to grow the business, not only from a vertical standpoint but from a horizontal standpoint as well. So those are the things I'm working on. But in the meantime, I'm an inch wide and a mile deep on Amazon.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love what you said about you ignoring your own competitors. Recently, you posted in our channel that the grass is not greener on the other side. It's greener if you water it.
I get DMs from former MAG employees all the time. They went and took a higher salary, or they took a higher position, and they DM me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I miss MAG," and I'm like,
Oh,
I get it, but like, sometimes you gotta leave the nest to understand. But the ecosystem that we've built is really powerful, right? Like, there's nothing like it in our sector where
yes.
there's 500 people in the same Slack ecosystem constantly talking to each other, teaching each other, learning from each other. Hundreds of SOPs, a couple thousand in total, that have been built over the last 6.5 years at the fingertips. And they're constantly evolving, iterating. Like a hummingbird is my spirit animal, just kind of flapping
Mhm.
my wings. And quite frankly, a hummingbird looks goofy sometimes. You see it like bounce off each other, or they're jousting with each other, or they miss the flower mark, right? And that's what I feel like sometimes. Like, I don't think I get anything right the first time, like ever. But
Mhm.
I'm guarantee you that by the end of the morning, I will have nectar out of a flower. I don't know which flower has the nectar, but I'm going to check them all until I find it, and I'm going to move around, and I'm going to, buzz and flap and do whatever it takes to find the nectar. And I think it's the most powerful skill that I possess,
Yeah.
right? Like just the ability to iterate very quickly. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. His action dictates the strategy mantra very much feel like a genuine inflection point for me when I embrace that. I basically follow Gary Vee's teachings before I knew who he was.
Mm-mm.
That's like how kindred I feel attached to some of the things that he says. And maybe one day I'll be as influential as Gary Vee, but that dude pulls in $250,000 to go speak at an event. So that's a long way off. That's a
Yeah.
long way. But we'll see what happens. But I think, I didn't feel like me replicating another competitor would make me wealthy. It might have created a job. I might have created a 40-person agency. I think that's very doable. But those models all seem to implode at around 40 clients. And today we have 400 clients. We're 10 times bigger than the average agency that I'm aware of. We're also 3 times more profitable, which is absurd to most people because, and I'm not ashamed to talk about this stuff. Like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, you can't tell everybody what you're doing. And I'm like, why? I know how hard it is to do what we did. I don't think anybody can replicate it. But, there's one guy out there that might. And if that guy does, good for him. Like, fantastic. And I don't think it's going to harm me. And I think I can grow despite that. And maybe, the guy that goes out and does it, maybe I'll buy his business, and then I win anyway. So
Yeah.
then when we're going to pitch these clients and the prospects, instead of it being me against the other guy, it's, well, pick which one of my guys you want. And so who knows? Those are the sort of things that could happen someday.
Now, let's move along in Amazon kind of question. So, yeah, given the recent changes in Amazon's fee structure, what advice do you have for sellers to maintain their profit margins while navigating this new costs?
You only have a couple of levers as an Amazon seller to deal with fees. One is to raise your prices, which is the inevitable, the easy and the hard choice. Right? It's easy to go and do it, but it's hard to live with the consequences
Mhm.
because sales go down when you raise your prices. It's just inevitable. The flip side is to lower your costs and to try and make it so that you have more margin to play with. I guess you could throw a third choice in there is and just take it on the chin and eat it. And I think a lot of people will do that for a time. They'll try and sustain it as long as they can. You look at like Arizona Tea selling drinks at 99 cents a can. And like, I have no idea how they've been able to sustain that profitably. And their profits probably go down every single year. But, for some people, they just try and fight the inflation the best they can. Our governments and our big corporations in the United States have really let down people, especially with the government just printing money and
Mhm.
causing massive amounts of inflation. We see this worldwide. It's not just, obviously symptomatic of the United States, but when you have a fiat currency and you can just make up numbers, the government takes advantage of that so that they can make as much money as they want, pay off their cronies and cause some corruption and bribery and whatever else you want. And then as it relates to, big corporations like Amazon, they're a monopoly, right? Like, and when you're a monopoly, you can get away with a lot of stuff. And that's a little disconcerting to feel like Amazon is abusing us. And I think a lot of sellers feel that way and they see an 800-pound gorilla and they don't know what to do about it. They're like, if I say something, is that gorilla going to tear off my arm? And they might. They
Yeah.
might. Like, one person over at Amazon, like, is like, I don't like what you're doing. I'm going to yank all your listings. That's what happened to me. Like, I was selling tumblers with funny sayings on them. Like, this one says, "The force is strong with dad." It's just all it's doing is using the text from Star Wars' font. But Amazon's like, you know what, Stephen Pope, I don't like what you're doing. I'm going to yank every single one of your tumblers. Poof, gone. And the next day, like that was Black Friday last year,
Mhm.
and I lost $250,000 on that. And so there's a lot of things outside of your control as an Amazon seller, but I think it's still worth it. I still think that it's the best marketplace to be on. The monopoly has treated us overall well, but we're paying the consequences of the maturing of the monopoly. We're paying the consequences of Amazon saying, I'm going to pay out my stakeholders now. I'm going to make my stock price go higher. I'm going to pay out dividends to the people and the investors. So these are challenges that Amazon has created.
Mhm.
And at some point, we're going to see a leveling, right? But if we really come down to calculate it, you can still pull off a 15 to 25% net margin after all fees on Amazon. And most sectors are averaging closer to 15%. So if you really come down to think of it, this is just Amazon catching up parity wise to the industrial business sector at large. And it was inevitable. It was inevitable that Amazon would squeeze us at some point. They have us. They have us by the cojones. Like they can do whatever they want right now. Now, we do have a couple of saviors in the ballot box coming up on deck, if you will. But like, I'm not sure I'm really that expecting excitement out of these saviors. Like I'm looking at Temu, I'm looking at TikTok, and I'm like, does it really have to be a Chinese owned company? I don't know if they're going to treat us any better than Amazon will. You hear the stories about guys pissing in bottles at the warehouse at Amazon to make their numbers. You hear about all of the crazy things that Amazon does, and we all feel the pain of the fees going up. But is it really that bad? Is it really as bad as it might be if China took over? I kind of feel like it's still pretty good, you know?
Yeah, the fees are much higher than the profits the sellers have these days. So it's really important for people to have an agency or a company that can advise them to grow their business to skyrocket their sales.
We do have a couple of services that help with that, right? Like my refund guy. We have 500 people that have hired us to claw back fees out of Amazon for lost shipments and damaged goods. And I think it's like $3 million we've been able to get back for Amazon sellers, which is an incredibly high number.
Yeah, there might be changes, but one thing's for sure, we are doing our best to provide them the best quality of service that they deserve as well. So, yeah, knowing that we have currently 400 plus clients, right, sir?
Yep.
Right now, and you've interacted with all of them.
Kind of, right? So as we've gotten bigger, I mean, they've interacted with me. Whether I've interacted back with
Mhm.
them is a debatable subject, but they've all seen the content. They've all been a participant in the system that
Mhm.
I've created. I'm trying to create a system, an educational system that self replicates and then creates opportunities that I have created and does it in perpetuity. And if I could make an agency last 1,000 years, and people pull the tape of me talking about this vision from 2024 at time of shooting this, and they're playing this in the year 3024, mission accomplished. Like, that would just be incredible. Now, I don't know how to do that. Let's be clear. I have no idea what I'm doing. But that vision and that mission is so high up there, so unobtainable, so unreachable that it makes me get out of bed in the morning. Because me just trying to put an extra dollar in the bank right now, who cares, right? Like, it will not change my life. But what will change the world is bringing that prosperity to more people.
Nowadays, it's for me, it's really important to have a company that has a CEO that visionizes the company's future up until the next generations. So I think that's what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah,
But a lot of CEOs will give you the 5-year plan, right? Here's my 1,000-year plan. you know, and that's a little bit different.
it's a whole lot different. Knowing that Mag right now is really organized. To me, it's really organized, unlike the other agencies I've been before. So
Most agencies are chaos, right? Like, you have all of these people running around and they're like, what do I do? And they're like, figure it out, right? But in MAG, we have figured it out. And then we're saying, do exactly this, follow this SOP. And for every situation, we've documented it down. And sometimes it is difficult to know, like, okay, well, I could do this or I could do that. Which should I prioritize? And that's a little bit more debatable. But in terms of my listing went down, what do I do? Well, here's the 17 things you need to check. Or, hey, I got an angry client. What do I do? Well, here is a list of things that we commonly think that customers are angry about. Start asking these questions, and based on those answers, you may want to try these steps next. We have all that stuff, Doc. I really feel, blessed to have a system that doesn't require people running around with their heads cut off, doesn't require me babying the system. Like, people rarely come to me with questions, even though I invite them, even though I like try and go seek them out. Barely do I get a question because we've answered so many of them. We've documented them. And I think a lot of business owners frequently they do one-to-one training, but they forget to build a system that can do one-to-many training. And that's something we've really succeeded at.
Yeah, SOPs are our Bible here in Mag. Yeah,
And maybe they'll last a long time. Maybe that'll be what lasts 1,000 years. Who knows?
it will. It will. So, yeah, now knowing that you, in my own opinion, you really have a lot of knowledge when it comes to the Amazon space. What do you think is the most underestimated factor in achieving success on Amazon, that sellers often overlooks?
The last couple of years, I've been talking about CTR, and I don't mean choose the right, I mean click through rate. And that's because when you look at what is going to win you real estate today on Amazon, it's going to be your main image. A lot of things affect CTR. We could talk about price, we could talk about reviews or badges and title. But at the end of the day, the main image hack is what we've branded it as, has been by and large the easiest, fastest, most powerful thing that we can do to help a brand grow. We have hundreds, if not a couple thousand use cases of this happening at this point, where we'll change a main image, we won't change anything else, and we will triple the amount of clicks a listing gets. And often the case, when you triple the amount of clicks, you often will triple the amount of sales. There's this one special example, and I'll share my screen for this,
Sure.
that I really like, and it's the Happy Me Journal. It's such a great example because this particular brand didn't even have A+ content when we built this out, and we were able to triple their sales immediately. So this is the example. So on the left, we have a yellow journal, and on the right, we have a kids continuation journal that's specifically for ages 6 through 12, and it has funny little characters inside of it. There's a massive difference between the two here,
Yeah.
right? On the left, it might be for adults. You don't even know. On the right, we have zeroed in on the customer avatar, and that a mom who has a 6-year-old son is going to want to buy this product because it's going to make their kid actually want to write. It's going to make their kid actually want to journal. That's tremendously valuable. And as we've looked at doing this time and time again, on the left here, we have cooking baking sheets, but on the right, you can smell the difference. Just
Yes.
absolute major difference because of what you can see between a product and an experience. Very, very different. Here's one that our team just posted recently in Slack. Here's the before. All we did on this particular one is add in the dog, add in the pooch, because we know that when somebody is searching for a dog treat, they don't want to buy something that a cat would eat, right? You can't tell if this multivitamin would be eaten by cats on the left, but on the right, you know that is for a puppy. You know that's for a dog
Yes.
because it shows the dog. Something like that can be very, very valuable. And that was like the one that just got like posted last week. We've got lots and lots of examples like this. Here's a graphic I made last year. I'm just pulling this up in our CTR Slack channel right now. 5 ways to catch all the clicks on Amazon, right? I'm a video gamer. I played Pokemon when I was in junior high and all that stuff. I traded my Pokemon cards in for a signed Kobe Bryant card at one point. Ended up selling that card for $600 at a later point because why not? I don't know. But including the keyword on the main image, put the ingredients of the product, share all the accessories, mention the quantity, show the packaging. These are the things that we frequently see most people miss, and they're like Ash Ketchum trying to wrangle a Pikachu sometimes. They get electrified. It just doesn't work very well. So those are the things that we're seeing work really well on Amazon these days, is just trying to go deep on CTR, click through rate. And when you choose to go get clicks, you're more likely to get those clicks. And it's easier to get clicks than it is to earn bigger conversion rates. So if an average conversion rate on Amazon today is 10%, it would be very, very difficult for you to bring that to 12 or 15, maybe even 20%. But if you currently have 1,000 people that click on your listing every week
Hmm.
and you want to get to 3,000 or 5,000, I'm here to tell you, way more achievable than it is to go get that doubled conversion rate. So if you could maintain that 10% conversion rate and double your clicks, you've doubled your sales. So it's a no brainer. But a lot of people still fight me on it. People are like, oh, TOS or Amazon will yank my product. And it's just not true. Amazon does not enforce what people imagine Amazon enforces. And so while Amazon is jabbing you with a knife on your fees, take advantage of that and take some clicks from them with your main image.
Yeah, exactly. Good point in there, as usual. Because to me, if I am the buyer, I would really um I'm too lazy to check on the deals because to me it's like redundant. It's all the same. I would choose the one that would captivates my eye.
You will. We live in a TikTok nation. 3 second attention span on a Tuesday. It's just people really know what they're looking for, but they psychologically, if you put it in front of them and dumb it down and systematically just deliver it on a silver platter, they're more likely to say, "Yeah, that's what I want."
Yes, exactly. People wanted to be served. Here you go, sir. All
Absolutely. I
right.
mean, that's why I had a tailor come to my house. Same idea.
Yeah, problem solved. You wanted it to be delivered in your home because I saw that post as well by Miss Emily that you would really just like to wear your mag shirt instead of buying anywhere any brands in there. So yeah,
That's what I'm doing today. Got my mag shirt on.
same.
You got the
All
missing puzzle shirt.
Yeah, amazing puzzle shirt. So now, as I have mentioned that Miss Emily, your wife, also shared different kinds of stories about you. So you are known for quite being open and transparent on social media, especially on LinkedIn, and was recently named as Lunatic CEO. So how does your public persona differ from who you are in person, and what aspects of Stephen Pope are less visible to your online audiences?
This may or may not surprise you, but it is identical. It's exactly the same, right? And when my father was a weatherman as I was growing up, at age 12, I'd go down to the TV station with my father. I'd see him do the live weather hit, and I'd stand next to the cameraman. And there was this very vivid moment for me at age 12. And the anchor, who was super sweet on camera, went to commercial break and swore and chewed out the cameraman for missing the scroll. And I was just like, whoa, I thought this guy was nice, but he's a total a-hole. And as the more I stood around the newsroom and I heard the news director cussing out the producer, and I heard the anchor cussing out the cameraman, and I heard the cameraman talking bad about the reporter, and on and on and on, I realized this was dysfunctional, first of all. But more importantly, that authenticity did not exist in the TV news industry. And I was baffled by this. I'm pretty sure I've got Asperger's and I'm some sort of autistic, whatever. And I didn't understand human behavior for the longest time until I got and adopted this culture index system where I could read somebody's dots to understand what makes them tick. And so, what I observed from my father from a very young age is that he was the exact same person at home that he was on camera doing the weather. And I cannot tell you of a single other person growing up in my life where I felt that way. And I think that a lot of people are not authentic. And I very much am authentic. I am the very same on camera here on this conversation of the same way I would speak with my family, the same way I would speak with my clients, my employees, or anybody around me. I speak with truth, capital T truth, whenever possible. I speak with authenticity. I say what I mean what I say. And yes, I throw in a couple of analogies and funny statements here and there to get some attention. But by and large, that's who I am. And I sincerely, go around trying to help others come to the same conclusion that I've come to. I feel like I have a vision that's grandiose. I know it's crazy. I want other people to get on board with it because that's how you make things happen. You can't just be a guy pounding on a desk and saying, I want you to go west. Like that doesn't work. It's simply ineffective leadership. And so I found myself trying to create something bigger than me that other people can believe in. And I think I'm successful to some extent, but it's always something I want to work on further.
So yeah, I got my last question in here. So yeah, Stephen, if you were both a client and an employee on My Amazon Guy, how would you describe your experience working with yourself?
That's like asking me to be a road runner looking at a mirror while coyotes trying to chase me down. Very interesting question. Okay. What I would find trusting of the system that I've built is that the expectations are set during before people even buy from me, right? They can watch my video content and have an expectation of what to expect. During the sales process, it feels just like the videos. After the sales process is done, it goes to onboarding. It feels just like the videos. It feels just like the entry point of where they learned about me typically. And as months pass on, they still feel the same way. That's what I've been told by hundreds of clients. I was buying Stephen Pope, but what I got was Stephen Pope's system. And it's a replication of that authenticity claim. It's the delivery of we try and grow your sales. Now, we don't guarantee sales growth. We believe we can obtain it for more often than not, right? And if you hire us and we can't grow your sales, at least then you can sleep easier at night knowing that you hired supposedly the best and they failed, which means it's probably your product. I hate to tell you that, but it's probably your product, right? And so we're here to help. And I think, if I was a customer of my own service, which by the way, I think one of the best things that I ever do as a CEO is go replicate acting as the end user. Right.
Yes.
I go stress test my system all the time. And I'm like, you guys took 4 hours to respond to this email. Like that should take 30 minutes. I want somebody on staff being available to respond to things quicker. Right. Other companies are like 2 business days or whatever. And I'm like trying to micro it down to 1 or 2 hours on an email. And I bet you my employees are like, that's crazy. And I'm like, no, it's not. That is what good customer experience feels like. Speed is important. Imagine if I was a pissed off customer this morning and I woke up and Amazon had yanked my listing and I'm like, what's my agency doing? I sent off an email and I'm like, my listing's down, help. And 4 hours passed by. During those 4 hours, I could be blaming MAG for every problem I have. I'm going to file a chargeback on my credit card. I'm going to cancel my contract. And then we find out that, the team had been working on it for 2 hours and the listing's back up, but because I didn't get a response, that would be the experience. And so as a customer, I've been an Amazon brand. I know what it's like. I've hired agencies in the past. I know what it's like to sell on Amazon. It's difficult. And so our job as an agency is to clear cut communications, to expedite resolution, but most importantly, to grow sales. And if we don't do that, it's hard to justify our existence, right? People are going to start singing Janet Jackson,
But what has he done for you lately?
and then we get fired. And my least favorite way to get fired by a client is when we just needed to communicate our next step. So I think customers can experience or expect strong expectation setting and communication that's consistent with an eye on growing sales on Amazon.